Hi, this is the Lourdes and Chris Show.
This brilliant, breathtaking, passionate woman in purple is my beautiful and intelligent wife, Lourdes. And I'm just excited.
He gets really excited, so I have to kind of bring it down sometimes.
I was almost too excited. It's because I got a new haircut. That's why I'm so excited.
I'm
streamlined now.
He was in desperate need. That's
looking
for sure.
a little shaggy.
And this is my husband, Chris, who was looking a little shaggy. And we are excited because tonight we are actually going to go into our trip.
Yeah, our trip to Mexico. But before we get into it, we did want to thank our partner, Dr. Newsom.
Yes.
If by now you must know that we're big fans of Dr. Newsom.
Yes.
And if you were to go to drnewsom.com, you would see why he's got all these amazing products that he himself has personally devised, and he's done the chemistry behind it. He's done the formulation behind it. And each one of his products, and this is what's interesting about the man, each one of his products is like, it's because he helped a patient specifically with the problem, and he formulated a new formulation that's unique to him and does that much more amazing good because of it.
Yeah. And not just that, I mean, his products are so good. I mean, we use it. And it's funny because even with other stuff we use, we never let go of his stuff because it works so well.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, down to the gut health, the super digest. Well, we love them all, actually.
Actually, I'm a big fan of Flamagon because it's helped me out a lot on a personal level.
That's true.
But you know, it's just everything that you see on his website is because he's you can tell that the man has reached some higher level.
Well, he put a lot of love behind it.
That's what it is.
Like you can tell, excuse me, that he created the formulation for each one of his patients, but in a way where it, you know, like when he did it, it's because he cared. And so you can tell in his products just by taking it that he did, because I mean, it works so well.
Yeah. I mean, that's so can't say enough good things about Dr. Newsom. You can subscribe to his newsletter. You can get recipes. You can get classrooms that are coming up for him. He teaches class guys. He's teaching classes on how to live a healthier life. Yeah. He's just a phenomenal man.
And you can even go on his site if you want to, you know, get guided by him and actually work with him on whatever you're dealing with when it comes to health. I have a few friends that actually love him. They think he's amazing. They have it's transformed their lives. So you can go there and do that. You can go to drnewsom.com. And when you purchase, you can put Lourdes and Chris to get your 15% off.
Yeah. Lourdes and Chris as a promo code, and you get 15% off your order. So it really just makes sense for you to try it, because once you try it, you're going to know just how amazing this stuff is and how well it really does for your health. So we couldn't be more pleased to be partners with Dr. Newsom because of the caliber of person that he is.
And we wanted to also mention when we go into this episode, it may be a little longer than norm.
I'm jumping into it. I wanted to thank the people on Lourdes and Chris Show.
But this is important. And we'll do that in a second, but it's maybe a little longer, and there will be clips that for some may be hard to see. This is literally going to share some of our clips through our journey with cancer. And when we documented and recorded everything, we documented everything raw and real. So just so you know,
it's hard for me to watch. And I was there, and I was the one doing most of the recording. In fact, all the recording.
Yeah.
But before we get into the trip to Mexico, I was looking to thank the people that have gone onto lourdesandchrisshow.com and donated. And you can also donate if you go to the lourdesandchrisshow.com. What you're doing is you're helping us with this important message that we're getting out there
with our mission.
Yeah. In fact, it was in Mexico that some of the messages came through for you that you know, you're on the right track. This is what you're supposed to be doing and making a difference in the world.
Yes.
So we appreciate you. We see you. And also subscribe to the newsletter there on the lourdesandchrisshow.com. You can follow all the products that we also endorse, besides the good Dr. Newsom, which of course we absolutely love.
Yeah.
But yeah, come on to the website, check it out, say hello, drop us a line. We do respond, believe it or not.
Yeah, because we got like stuff on there with pillows and you know, things that have to do with 5G. Like there's so many things on there that you really want to check out, including books. Yeah.
Oh, right. And of course, we got the books out there as well. So we're grateful to you all for your continued support, and thank you for that. And now I feel like we can probably start to get into what this episode was about. Just to recap what happened last week with last week's episode, we were basically talking about the shortened version of why we went to Mexico. And we tell people this all the time. We had to go to Mexico because Lourdes needed to receive treatments in Mexico that are not FDA approved here in the United States.
Yeah.
So we had to go to Mexico to receive certain treatments. And what's weird about it is these treatments that we received, and Lourdes specifically received in Mexico, are actually throughout the world available.
Yes.
In fact, there were some patients there from Israel and some others from, I think, Germany or someplace like that. They were actually there also received treatments, but those same treatments were available in their countries. They were there as a follow up or part two of their treatments or whatever.
And this is the thing. The reason I needed to go there was because the treatments I wanted to receive were only outside of the US. I did not want to do chemotherapy or radiation. For me, it didn't make sense. It did not make sense that I would burn myself back to health or poison my body back to health. I felt like I needed to nourish my body back to health, but not just nourish it. I needed extra, like, in fact, there's a verse, and I'll find it and we'll make sure we'll put it here, that I saw today. And I'll make sure that we put it there. It actually talks about in the Bible where it says the leaves that are our medicine, right? It lets you know plants, the herbs that we grow here are actually our medicine. And so when you go back to that, when you understand that, you start getting guided in the right way. You have to want to know. And when you want to know, when you open up and say, okay, God, what do I need to do to heal, to get better without doing anything destructive to my temple? And I promise you, just like when I asked, you do get the answer and you did get guided. And through that is where our journey started.
Yeah. So to do treatments here in the United States of America, it meant first of all, they'd cut out her Lourdes' tumors. It meant secondly that they would prescribe chemotherapy and so much of it, and then radiation to follow up. That's just the protocol that's available here in the United States. And by that I mean that is the protocol that's available here in the United States. And so that was
unless they tell you there's nothing they can do for you because you're so bad off that just kind of put yourself in, your affairs in order. That happens sometimes. And those people, I've actually met a few where they then decided, well, since they can't do nothing for me, now let me try something natural. And they are now cancer free.
Well, so my point was that all three of those things that are the treatment options here in the United States, all three have the side effect of causing additional cancer. And please look that up. You
can go on the American Cancer Society and you can just look at side effects of chemotherapy radiation. It will tell you the exact same thing we're telling you.
It is a side effect that you're going to wind up. So that's why Lourdes made a conscious decision not to do those things. And after doing some research, she realized that not too far from us, like a 5-hour drive, is Mexico. And there were certain things, a lot of Mexico that wouldn't do those things too.
Yeah. In fact, in the beginning, I read hundreds of books, I mean, literally, about fighting cancer naturally and all these different things that people have done. I watched documentaries. I spoke with other people who fought it without chemotherapy and radiation, what they did. So I tried many different things and documented all those things. So it's kind of like me just figuring out what it is that I needed to do and what worked for me. And it wasn't just one thing. It was a multiple of things that kind of got me where I needed to be.
Yeah, there was a list of protocols that Lourdes was going to be treated for, and so to start, let's just describe what was going on when Lourdes and I finally went down to Mexico, because it's important for you to understand our start point. At that point, Lourdes was dying. I mean, for lack of a better word, I mean, she was very.
I had days left to live.
Yeah, very near death. Yeah. So she couldn't breathe. She wasn't strong. Let me see if I've got the one clip I wanted to show about that.
Yeah.
So, what's the date today?
I'm going to the cancer center in Mexico, where they have this treatment they do. That is a vaccine that they make from your own blood, and the success rate is really good. Like, it's high. So, since I'm in the predicament I'm in now, which is the last stage, I'm actually being able to finally go to the place I've been trying to go from the very beginning. But at least I'm going now.
It's. I guess we can stop share.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear just watching that video that Lourdes was not doing so hot. She was.
No.
In fact, she later said she didn't even remember doing the interview.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I had like 5% use of one lung. I was barely breathing. I had cancer throughout my body. I had fluid buildup around the heart and my chest cavity. So I wasn't getting much oxygen to the brain. So everything was kind of a blur, to be
So
fair.
yeah, so that was when we were finally able to get Lourdes. She mentions it in the video. Her goal all along from the day one when she learned that she had cancer was that when she learned that there was options available in another country, Mexico, that weren't going to be destructive to her body, and to give her, that was God's answer. I mean, when, like she said,
Yeah.
she prayed and she got that answer. So that's where she wanted to go all along. It's just, our insurance doesn't work
Cover
down
it.
there,
Yeah.
and
And it when it's coming out of your pocket, the amount that it comes out, it's way cheaper than if you got treatments here.
Yeah.
But the insurance pays it here, so it's not like you're worried about those treatments.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way we didn't even get into the insurance aspect of it, and we're probably not going to now. But
Yeah.
but it's a
not
catch-22 type of a situation where we couldn't just up and go to a different country and expect to pay for everything.
Yeah.
It took a long time for us to raise these funds, and we'll get into that fundraising effort right after we come back. It is a bit time for our first break from Dr. Newsom Products. And so we're going to get into that right now. So you're going to see drnewsom.com. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about the financial woes, about how to get us down to Mexico and what we had to do. And then once we got there, how the team at the Cancer Therapy Center got into action the second she arrived.
Yeah. And not just that, we also want to make sure that it's understood that I'm very clear that everything that happened needed to happen exactly how it happened, just so that I could take those days left to live and show that even with that, you can turn things around when you're given the right things and the right tools that got us put here on this planet.
Okay, so we'll be right back, and then we'll get into all that.
Yes.
Super Earth Energy.
Super Earth Energy.
For nearly 2 decades, Dr. Newsom was developing this formula.
This one.
2 decades of his life, nearly 2 decades.
I mean, that's really dedication to giving you the best quality of a supplement that's going to give you not only energy, I mean, it improves adrenal and,
Well, so it improves your adrenal and muscle fatigue.
Yep.
It actually helps with chronic fatigue syndrome, a compromised immune system, sleep deficit, brain fog.
Which many are experiencing, low sexual desire. I mean, this 2 decades, there's a reason. He put a great formula together. He formulated, and it's just amazing. Like, we love it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's like we were just telling our daughter the other day. It's not like it gives you like a caffeine jittery feeling. It's more like you're just awake.
Yeah, like, when you were a kid and you you didn't feel, kids they seem to not get tired. So it's kind of that. You don't go, oh, I feel like all this caffeine. It's none of that, because I personally can't do caffeine. It causes me nausea, migraines. I just can't do caffeine. But I take this and I just don't feel tired. I can spend a whole day really getting a lot of things done and not feel exhausted, or I have to take a nap, or I still do my meditation stuff, but oh my gosh, amazing.
It's because it's giving you energy at a cellular level. Now, all you have to do to get this product is go to www.drnewsom.com and look for Super Earth Energy. We've got that. We got it ourselves, but we should do a little, still show them what that bottle looks like. And there it is, Super Earth Energy. That's right. Go to drnewsom.com.
Yes. drnewsom.com. In fact, right here, we see the link.
Oh, see, now I got to put it there. I was going to put it there now, but now it's got to be there.
Or he can still put it here, but definitely here.
It's going to be 2 places now.
Super Earth Energy.
And we're back. So, like what I said, she doesn't. It was important for us to document those last few days, because time and time again, Lourdes has had people reach out to her and said, "Oh, I don't know, I'm just so I don't have much time." And days, folks, she had days left to live, and she turned it around when we went down to Mexico. So,
and I think that's why I was in the predicament I was in.
Sure,
because I mean, I did get to a point, as you guys will see through the clips he would show, that I was doing really good.
Yeah,
I mean, I was doing the whole raw vegan juicing daily, the colonics, the enemas, the vitamin C drips and stuff. it was like all these things I was doing, and my body was just like really receiving it in. And it was just the one thing that we decided to do that turned things around.
Well, that she decided to do.
But it was important to do. And I think that as much, and I'm not going to say I didn't get cocky. I did. I was like, I beat it before, me doing this test that I know is going to spread it. I can undo that problem. But beholds to me, there was things that were done extra to me that I didn't know. And so, and that's what took me down, which most people, by the way, don't know that. Most people really do think things got really bad because she wasn't doing chemotherapy and radiation. Right. And that's why when she finally got back to the States, all these things happened to her. And in reality, when I got back to the States, I didn't even have cancer. So it was way more than the things people know.
And it's also important to specify that at the very beginning, since I've known Lourdes so long ago now, since I've known Lourdes, she has told me that she knew that she was here on this planet to make a difference in the world. She had said it over and over again. She was driving me practically nuts about how often she would talk about she knew she was here to make a difference.
Well, because I was like, there's this thing I got to do, and I don't know what it is, and I got to figure this out because I know it has to be big, and it's to be an impact in the world, not like just the U.S. I mean, globally transform people. And I don't know how. And that just nagged at me for like 3 years before I was diagnosed.
Yeah. So then the diagnosis came on, and then Lourdes and I both saw that very differently. Lourdes was very much like, this is it.
This is it. This is the answer.
This is the answer. And I said, no, it's not. And I was obviously wrong. And that's why when we say things like, it's very clear that Lourdes had to be near death's door to understand that this was something that you can turn around even at that close to it. When you look at everything in that perspective, that Lourdes had asked, she had asked for something to make a major difference for her in the world. She got her answer.
So now I'm like, what can I do that can be a difference? But
having said that, but not so much for so that's why we say things like, it was clear that she had to go through this, because in that perspective it was clear. So give me 1 second. I gotta pull up what happened the first day Lourdes got in there. So just to paint the picture properly, when we arrived, that interview that Lourdes had given in the car kind of tapped out what energy she had left. She was conscious, but not conscious. She was awake, but not really there by the time we had gotten to Mexico.
True. I mean, I don't even remember arriving there, getting put into the room. They even put a pick line.
Well, that's what I'm going to show is
I had no idea.
So bear with us for just 1 second. Oh, so bear with us just for 1 second, and we're going to find day one here.
Yeah. At this point, I'm really swollen. Yeah.
So this is a flurry of activity that's going on. Lourdes doesn't have her pick line yet. They're about to put. Nope, she did just get it in.
Yeah.
They're setting up an oxygen tank with her. She doesn't remember any of this.
No, it's so foreign to me. Yeah, as you can see on the sides, there's like all those tumors on
that line right there, that white line that you see going on the thing is actually her pick line. And from day one, they actually gave her paranutrition. Yeah. So right now she's receiving paranutrition, which is important. Okay.
Yes, that was a lot of this stuff I really don't remember.
So that was, so right out of the gates, Lourdes got in there. They put a pick line in her, and here's what's weird about how things were going down there. And it was like for me, it was like eye-opening. We were told that I would be in the room for literally every procedure. Why that's weird is because realize that Lourdes had been in and out of hospitals here in the United States with this condition as things had gotten worse. And it was the policies here were that they took her out of the room for any sort of procedure that had to be done. They would bring her back, or I was told to leave so that they could do certain procedures. Yeah. It wasn't until after Lourdes got better and we were reviewing everything that we realized that took a lot of power away from me as Lourdes' advocate to not be present as to what was going on. And if things had gone wrong or things had happened, I wouldn't be any of the wiser. So in a really bizarre way, they handled it perfectly at this integrative cancer therapy center because by having me in there at all times, I bore witness to literally everything that happened.
Everything.
And so they put the PICC line in, and I was watching them cut my wife. I mean, they basically cut this thing and put it inside of there.
Yeah.
And they got it in, and then I was like, should I maybe leave? I don't know. But the first thing that they put in with that PICC line was they put in paranutrition, which is it was in a glass bottle, and it had a covering on there because it was photosensitive. The light can't hit it.
Right.
But basically, what it is it's high nutrition, and you think to yourself, this is a possibility.
Well, it makes sense. So like anytime when I was here and I was lacking nutrition, like my body was so weak because I really couldn't eat. And this is after the incident of what they had done that made things worse here. When I would go into the hospital, they would always give me something that would just swell me up.
Was right.
It was, whether it was a saline, whatever they did, potassium, it didn't matter. The moment they gave it to me, I swelled up like a balloon and tumors grew really fast.
Yes.
And I would end up with, I'd go there with a tumor here and there and leave out of there with like 10 more big, huge tumors just from the short time I was there with the IVs they gave me. So it seemed like everything they gave me just made things worse. And there, when they were giving it to me, it seemed like things were getting better. I felt actually stronger instead of weaker. And that was the difference between the IV there to the IV here.
Right. Right. And so they got her on paranutrition right away. Their first goal was to stabilize Lourdes because when we arrived, she was not stable. So out of the gates, Lourdes was having problems with her breathing. And so from day one, they made sure that she was stabilized. More than anything, they had to stabilize her because in order for anything to move forward with anything, she needed to reach a plateau. Because like we said when we were on our way down, and even when we arrived, she was slipping. She was leaving. So they had to stabilize her from day one, and the way that they did that was paranutrition, and they didn't even start any of the other treatments except
Just nourishment
to get Lourdes back on well. And I think that was like a 2-day thing.
Well, yeah, I was weak.
Yeah.
Now those 2 days, I don't remember them. I don't,
Right.
Again, like I don't remember arriving. I don't remember them even doing the PICC line. I mean, was I knocked out? I don't know.
No, you were awake and alert when they were doing the PICC line.
I didn't feel a thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything.
I feel like they must have locally done a local anesthetic because
Maybe.
they did do something and then they cut into you, which I thought, oh, but I was there for it. But that was also day one when Dr. Diaz, who saw how depressed I was. Dr. Diaz was so there was a team of doctors that was helping Lourdes in Mexico. And so let me explain Dr. Diaz to you. I always like to think of him as this sort of like this slick Ricky Ricardo type of a guy. His hair was all slicked back. He always smelled good. He had himself together. And he saw that I was really down in the dumps, and I was, because on the way down, I just saw Lourdes get worse and worse and worse. And so I started thinking all these questions like, is this the right decision? Because we're going to a different country. Are they gonna treat her properly down there? This isn't a scam, right? Like we're really gonna get her better, right? So I had all these questions and doubts, and it was coming through my pores. And when we got there, after they'd done the PICC line and kind of everything had settled down just a bit, Dr. Diaz is like, I need to talk to you. And I said, great, no problem. So we left. He actually took me to a different room. And he said to me, I'll never forget it, you can't be this way. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no. We're going to get Lourdes better. You need to know that Lourdes is going to get better. The energy that you bring into this needs to say Lourdes is going to get better. And it was the most profound lesson that I think that I ever received in this whole journey of things. It was that day that I created a mantra for myself, and it carried me through the rest of this journey with Lourdes and her cancer. And that mantra is, right now Lourdes is alive. And what that does for me is it gets me present. It got me present. It got me alert. It got me to what was going on right now. Because look, even at her worst, Lourdes was, if you can't say Lourdes is dying, because that's something in the future. You can't, you can't say Lourdes got sick. That's something in the past. Saying that right now Lourdes is alive was my buoy out at sea. And it was the one thing I can cling on to and hold on to. And it was that day that I created that mantra. And it was all based on this conversation I had with Dr. Diaz. And he flat out told me, your energy, your attitude, everything has to be towards Lourdes getting better. It cannot be this negative thing that you came in with.
Yeah. And I mean, you did. It's like no matter what occurred, no matter how bad things got,
Mhm.
you know, and he knew I was like, no matter what happens, good or bad, you have to record everything.
Right.
Like, and that was a promise that I made him make me, regardless. It's like, if I'm dying, you record it. If I'm doing great, you record. It didn't matter. You couldn't just record the good times. It had to be recorded all the way through, no matter what the outcome was going to be.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Diaz.
Yeah.
You know, for that life lesson. That I still to this day can find some solace in, that right now this is what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
So it just got me present, and it got me to the now, and I appreciate it so much. And it got me through the rest of this journey. We do have to take a quick break.
Yes.
We're going to come back, and remember, let's put a little bookmarker on where we are.
Yeah.
Lourdes is finally stabilized, which means that she can actually start some of these treatments. And so when we come back, we'll go into what treatments Lourdes started to get into, what she found to be the best treatments, and what she thought was like, okay, she's doing it, but
But it wasn't my best.
it wasn't
my
my
fave.
Yeah. So we'll come right back into that. We'll start to name names. We'll get down to the nitty gritty and what they did down there in Mexico that the FDA won't let us do up here in the United States. So we'll be right back. Super Digest.
Super Digest, one of the most, well, I should say, one of the strongest digestive formulas on the market.
That's, yeah. And again, this makes sense, right? Dr. Newsom, but now you guys are seeing a theme, right? Dr. Newsom just does the best because that's what he does.
And when it comes to your digestive system, because that's where you get the most of, you know, nutrition, you definitely want it to be amazing.
The top notch.
Yep. And this is like 10 types of active digestive enzymes to enhance your digestion of proteins.
Protein, fats, and carbs, as well as pineapple proteolytic enzyme and papaya proteolytic enzyme.
Proteolytic.
Proteolytic. It sounds like an era of dinosaurs, doesn't it?
Yeah, proteolytic.
This dinosaur was found in the proteolytic era.
I just like saying proteolytic.
Yeah, that's actually our new word now. We're just going around saying proteolytic.
And it's got pineapple proteolytic.
We never had to learn proteolytic until we met Dr. Newsom, and now we understand what proteolytic is. It's an enzyme that actually helps you break down protein.
And by the way, and carbs, and you know, you need the enzymes to break down the proteins and carbs and the stuff that you need, because that's how you get your nutrition.
Right, and
So
this one has like 10, right?
Yes.
10 of types of active digestive enzymes.
Active, there's the key.
Yeah, they're not sleepy. They're not sleepy enzymes.
No.
They're not just like, well, okay, no, they're active. They're running around.
10 types of active digestive enzymes.
So you want to go to www.drnewsom.com, look for Super Digest that my lovely model wife assistant is holding.
And by the way, the products we share, it's because we take them.
We're using them.
Because we love what it does for our bodies. It's really good. So you guys definitely, oh my gosh, like
digestion is crucial to your health, and that's why Dr. Newsom has created this Super Digest.
If you have issues with your digestive system, you're going to want Super Digest.
That's right.
Yep. Super Digest.
It's just in the dark room, doing the capsules that are going to embrace the cancer cells, so that tomorrow when we put the light on, the oxygen's going to hit it and it's going to go, ah!
That's the plan.
Yes.
All right, we're back. And so what you saw there was just a clip of Lourdes putting these pills. We'll try and get the name of the pill for you. There's some...
If we can remember, because it's been we're talking 12 years.
But basically, the pills that she had to put on her tongue, she had to do in a dark room because they're very light sensitive, and there's a reason for that. So I want you to picture, and if we can find an image, we'll share one with you. But if you look at the shoreline of like a lake or a pond, the rocks get this green covering of algae that kind of surrounds them. So what these pills were doing is they basically go into Lourdes' system, and that's what would happen to
it would literally cover the cancer cells.
Right.
It would kind of just cover it all up. And so after 24 hours, I had to go underneath the light, as you can see here. And while I was under that light, what would happen is the light would then set this herb off, and then it would force oxygen into the cancer, killing the cancer cells.
So basically, photosynthesis started taking off, and so what happened was the plant life that was in these pills was receiving the full spectrum light, and photosynthesis took over, and it was basically pumping oxygen right into these cancer cells. Now, that was your favorite
out of all the treatments. I appreciated all the treatments, but for me, because you know your body, the one that was my favorite one, and I saw and felt immediate results. I mean, the tumors were huge, and once that happened, they like shrunk and started getting mushy instead of, they weren't no longer hard. It was just like this spongy, squishy thing, and they just started going away really fast. And that was just after the first treatment.
Yeah,
and it was going, I mean, really fast. So that one out of all the treatments was my favorite. The other one that we had that we talked about was,
well, just bear in mind that while we were doing the phototherapy, they were also doing coffee enemas not once but twice a day. I'm sorry, 4 times a day. Yeah, so forgive me, it was 4 times a day she was getting these coffee enemas done, because anything that these cancer cells were dying and falling off, that's why they were starting to get spongy. But you don't want that. You don't want that in your body, because
dead cancer cells in the body is also toxic. So while you're killing and get rid of, you also want to remove it. And doing coffee enemas, it doesn't just detox the liver and clean out the body and get out the junk that's in the system, but it also turns on the glutathione, which is the mother of all antioxidants. So it was kind of doing a combination of things that helped also a lot to get things going.
Yeah, I would say after you started the phototherapy and the coffee enemas, you started feeling
a lot better.
Like
actually, I was able to walk.
Within days. Yeah, you started walking again. So that was Lourdes's favorite. We did that treatment again and again and again, because once the plant, for lack of a better word, was covering the cancer cells, it was there. So so it was just a matter of pushing into it.
The oxygen.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what I'm getting is a sonotherapy, and there's a sound. What it is, it's a sound frequency that when it hits cancer, it actually dissolves it. So that's what I'm getting done. It's like 5 minutes on each area that you're working on. Besides, aquí también le dijo, ¿verdad? Yeah, so that's what we're doing, is we're dissolving the cancer cells.
And then that last clip was where we were doing the sonotherapy.
So sonotherapy, yeah. So
that one wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
That one felt like, even though it was doing the stuff, it was sending sound to break up the tumors and stuff. It felt like the moment they did it, my neck got really large. The tumors expanded. Now, it's not that they were growing. It's just that that's what was causing inflammation, because it was breaking up so much of it really quickly.
Yeah, so think of sonotherapy, that the way it works is that everything's got a frequency, including
cancer.
Yeah. So sonotherapy, the idea behind it is that they blast it with the right frequency, and it vibrates in such a way where it bursts the cancer. And so it kind of makes sense you get swollen from it, because it was bursting. But the
phototherapy didn't do that. It just took it and got rid of it instead of bursting things. So I like the other one better.
You have to understand, the whole time Lourdes was still receiving her paranutrition on a daily basis, and at that time you started to be able to hold down food again. So they started a special diet for you.
Yes,
a lot of papaya.
Yeah, that was the main fruit.
Yeah.
You got tired of eating it. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, but Lourdes loved it because it was something different.
It was the only sweet thing I could have.
Yeah, right. So we should also point out that while we were there, they made my food as well. So it wasn't just Lourdes.
Yes. So his bed was next to mine.
Right.
So he slept in the room with me. When they made my meals, they made his meals. He got to have more things than I could, because I was on a specific diet. Like, he could have bread, I couldn't have bread. Even though it was freshly made, it's just like, those are things that I couldn't have. There was a lot of fish.
Yeah, they did a lot of fish.
Yeah, a lot of fish. But everything was freshly made, and we didn't have to worry about organic, because it was just organic.
Yeah, what's this organic, non-organic nonsense?
That's what it was. Yeah.
I spent my birthday down there that year. We were there for my birthday that year. So
we seem to celebrate. In fact, when I was at my sickest, it was our anniversary, our wedding anniversary. And then when we were in Mexico, when I had days left to live, it was your birthday.
Yeah, major days was us dealing with this. Yeah.
So I arrived Wednesday, and today is Monday, March 12th, 2012. And when I got here, I was in really, really, really bad shape. And the moment I walked in, every IV and everything they put in me was to literally kill the cancer, unnaturally, untoxic. But it's actual, like vaccines and things like that, that is geared to cure cancer. I feel so much better. My coughing is subsided to almost zero, which is good. I have a little, but not much. And I sleep well at night now because I get this stuff that lets me go to sleep. I'm doing this live stream that also, it's a thing like it vibrates and thing. And it also takes the cancer and it kills it. Again, non-toxic, everything that's here kills cancer, non-toxic, no side effects. And if you would have saw me here Wednesday, you would have never thought I'd be in this condition today. So I do this on a daily basis for 20 minutes, and then later I'll be doing it for my hands for 20 minutes. And the very moment I walked in, every IV got put in was literally for the non-toxic to kill the cancer.
Okay, and that last clip was the ion machine. Basically,
yeah, it was weird. The one that I had my feet on.
Yeah. So it created an electrical charge through Lourdes's body.
And you couldn't touch anything. You put your feet there, they connected you to this machine, and you couldn't even touch anything metal because you would spark.
I couldn't touch her. I had to stay far away from her while this treatment was being done.
And of course, the whole time I would be tripping out.
Yeah, it smelled kind of, it had a smell. It smelled kind of ozone-y, if that makes sense. Like it smelled like electricity or something. It was a very...
Yeah, so that was another treatment I had done daily. So the as you saw, the one with my feet on that thing. And then there was a thing that went around my waist. So there was a lot of stuff that was done.
Yeah.
Foot detox machine.
Oh, yeah. Then there was that foot detox. Yeah, you did the foot detox as well. And then there was a masseuse that came in.
She'd always
3 times a week, something like that.
She'd massage me.
She gave you a massage, and
she'd like kind of like stimulate the lymphatic system because I was always poofy.
Yeah, and then in fact they wrapped Lourdes like a mummy to try and prevent some of the poofiness.
Yeah, actually, you can see it right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the whole time as well, what they were giving Lourdes as well was Laetrile or amygdalina or B17, which it's all the... I guess it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's something that fights cancer. That's known to fight cancer. So.
Yeah, it's natural. It's found in nature. The reason why I bring it up specifically is well, yes, they did do that treatment with her. They gave her that while she was down there, but that's one of the things that specifically the FDA will not approve.
No,
despite all the promising research that says that it's effective against cancer.
Now, mind you, a lot of the stuff they show there that we're showing and that I did and that worked immensely well and as you notice, as time goes on, I get better and better. I mean, you'll obviously notice that there's parts where I have really, really bad times.
Well, that's coming.
But that's because, I didn't have much use of the lung.
Yeah.
So it was like I was barely breathing. It was kind of hard.
Yeah, I'd say those first couple of weeks, you were leaps and bounds over where you were. She started walking. She still hooked up the IV.
Right. In fact, Dr. John, who he was the actual oncologist that fights cancer naturally. He was the one that helped us through this whole journey, guided us, and gave us all the things I needed in order to beat cancer. He was actually shocked.
Yes.
He was talking with one of the nurses. I'm just walking. I went there with I couldn't barely breathe.
You couldn't move.
I wasn't walking at all. I didn't have the strength to. And here I am, like pulling on my own little IV tree and just walking by, and he's talking, and he did a double take, like. But I think it's because I'm that person that no matter how bad things get, if you give me the right stuff, if you put the right natural things in my body just takes it in, and it's just like, and I immediately start healing. It's not like, oh look, it's like I go like this and it happens.
Yeah.
But I can feel it.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
true. You've always been real sensitive to the proper protocol.
Yes.
So on top of all that, so there was the massage therapy that was going on. There was the coffee enemas 4 times a day. Again, these are things you're not going to find.
Not here. No.
Not here.
Yeah.
But these are valid treatment options available. Like I said, there was a couple there from Israel who were receiving the same treatments because she had cancer, and they were actually just continuing their treatments. It was like they went from Israel to there to continue the treatments that they were already receiving.
And then there was the time. So it's funny because I'm doing really good.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to take a break before we get into it, but things were on the up and up. Lourdes was coming out a champ.
Yep.
All the tumors had become spongy.
Yeah.
Which is a good indication.
Yeah, they went from hard to just mushy.
Which basically means that the cancer's not there. This is just growth now.
Well, it's just like tissue that needs to go away.
The tests that they were showing, the tests that they were using actually proved that you were cancer free at that point. The markers were down. She had gotten rid of cancer.
By the time I left, and of course, we got to find out after the fact. And then he finally reached out to us, like, "Look, you no longer have cancer.
Right.
Your issue that you have to take care of." But it was interesting that
so
it was all taken care of.
What was happening behind the scenes, like an evil little entity that was behind the curtain, ready to reveal itself, was that Lourdes had that awful cough. You saw it at the front of this. And basically she had a growth on that was rubbing against the lining. We all have this lining in our chest cavity.
Which that, by the way, did happen here.
Yes.
So because I had this cough and I wouldn't do treatments,
right?
They refused to give me any strong antibiotics to knock off the pneumonia, because I had pneumonia.
Yep.
And if you don't get that treated, well, things can get really bad and you can die. But because I wouldn't do the chemotherapy, they refused, and it is what it is. You can say, "Oh, they went," well, they did.
Yeah.
They refused to give me any type of treatment for that. In fact, the only time they gave me finally the treatment I needed for that was after I came back.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I couldn't tell them that the cancer was gone. But
so basically what had happened, and we're gonna get more into it when we get back, but Lourdes' lung collapsed while we were down in Mexico. And
which
things went south real bad.
We'll show you that clip on when things were getting bad.
So we'll be right back after this break. We are going to bring another product from Dr. Newsom, who I absolutely love. And then when we come back, you'll see the clip of what we're talking about when things kind of went bad.
Yeah.
Dr. Newsom's Inflamagon.
It's powerful anti-inflammatory botanical formula.
So this bad boy's got curcumin, and he gets that curcumin from organic turmeric root.
Yes, which is important. We want organic. And freeze-dried frankincense oil.
Freeze-dried frankincense oil is boswellic acid, actually. Boswellic acid.
I love these words.
I know. Our vocabulary has been so expanded since we started working with Dr. Newsom.
Yes.
And that's boswellic acid is important because it's one of the things that help you. It actually helps with inflammation, but it also is an inhibitor for tumors.
Yeah.
So
so why not prevent or get rid of if you have one of those things or you don't know you have it yet?
Yeah, right. And why just jump ahead of it? Because this formula is bound to Dr. Newsom's unique fulvic acid and humic acid.
Which, by the way, those 2 minerals that you really do need if you want to stay healthy. And it gives maximum absorption and anti-inflammatory action. You're likely dealing with inflammation. Yes, because most people don't realize that if you end up with certain pains and aches, that's inflammation. Inflammation causes aches and pains to let you know there's an issue.
And prolonged inflammation is really what causes these chronic illnesses, up to and including cancer. So
we take this as well, and it's amazing. In fact, real quick tidbit, even as a thin person, I always had this little pouch, but since I've been taking this, I'm like, I must have had inflammation because that little pouch is gone.
Goodbye pouch, no more punch. So you want to go to www.drnewsom.com, get that anti-inflammatory formula of his in Inflamagon. I love the name Inflamagon.
Like it's gone.
Inflamagon.
Inflam is gone.
We love it.
We do.
I'll let that one slide. We love it. We know that you love it too because look, inflammation is something that you really want to work out of your system right now.
Yeah, like if you want to avoid health issues, when you have too much inflammation just creates, and especially if it's consistently going on.
That's right.
It causes diseases, it causes illnesses. Who wants to be sick?
And you can trust Inflamagon because it comes from Dr. Newsom, and
We trust it,
we
and we
trust
love
it,
it.
and we love it.
And we take this sucker daily.
Love it.
We like to prevent.
Le voy a traer su otro medicamento, ¿ok? Para que le pase ese dolor que siente.
We're back.
I don't mean to
That
laugh.
clip wasn't funny, by the way.
No, it's not. But you know what it is? Maybe it's just a mechanism of my way of dealing with things. But when he watches it, he gets all emotional. I don't know why that makes me laugh.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so not good times. So basically, Lourdes' lung collapsed, and so remember at the very front of the episode, I said that the staff in the Mexican hospital made sure that I did not leave the room. I was present for everything. So when Lourdes' lung collapsed, and you know, you can see in that clip how bad things had gotten for her, they actually did make me leave the room. They had some specialists come in, and what they needed to do was they needed to, here in the United States, they had already done this once before. They had given Lourdes a thoracentesis, which was to draw out all the fluid that was built up in her chest cavity, and she could breathe again. It would stop being around her heart. The difference is that in Mexico, it actually collapsed. And so they needed to get a specific type of machine in there to reinflate her lung and to keep the machine in there to both pull out the fluid and to make sure that the lungs stayed inflated so it didn't just collapse again right after they walked away. So that's these clips here.
So they drained your lungs today, and in the process of draining your lungs, the bad lung, the right lung, collapsed.
It did.
And so they had to, and that felt like you couldn't breathe at all. And now they're keeping you hooked up to this machine until they can get the x-rays back to find out what's going on in there and if it's a good time to turn it off.
Exactly.
So this is the second time they've removed fluid while we're here. We're already at 1,600 milliliters. I don't know what that equals for liters. And the first time it was 2.5 liters.
Well, that's the second time, yeah.
I'm sorry, the first time in California was 2 liters. The second time they removed fluid was 2.5 liters. They were sitting at 1,600 milliliters so far. Because your right lung keeps filling. The cavity around your right lung keeps filling with fluid.
Yo había necesitado that.
Le va a tomar una foto.
Bueno, es video.
Ah, ok.
Ver documento.
Yeah, that's the tube going into your lung. It's pleasant. And that's the leaking from the tube that goes into your lung.
You can see it's really loud and obnoxious, but so that was our life for a few days because that machine needed to stay on
For
24/7.
the last week that we
Yeah, it was about the last week we were there. So like I said, up to this point, Lourdes was just a champ, right? She was the poster child for what doing the proper treatments in Mexico had as a positive, powerful means of healing your cancer.
Yeah.
She did it. And then
the lung said, not yet.
and then the old lung came along and said, not so much.
But what was interesting is through this whole journey, through the ups and downs, through things getting great, through things getting really bad and becoming great again, is I had amazing visits, which I would say I was like in two.
Let's see here now. It's getting brighter. I see a guy. And this guy's a different guy. Sugar ain't fair. I'm dressed like in a white gown. And now the green, it's like people in it, like part of that. The back, the ground is all green. And fuchsia trees. And now the other part was open. You can walk through it. And it's trees on both sides. It's all full with the fuchsia.
And instead, what it was, I was so busy listening to what they were telling me that I wasn't saying it out loud. I was just responding. But there was, things that they were saying. And it was very clear at that moment that I was going to be on this mission. And the mission was to be a difference, and that my husband would be partners with me on this. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be the documentary, if it was going to be a TV series, what it was going to be. But now I know very clearly that it was all the above. It was going to be a documentary.
Yep.
We are doing a TV series called Naturally, and we are to do this show on a weekly basis, sharing information that help others.
So after Lourdes's lung collapse episode, the doctors came back and they removed that tube. You can kind of see the scar here that was left behind. So they basically had to seal her back up. She was ready to go. They were ready to discharge her, but they kind of said, look, there's something we can do for that lining in that chest cavity. And When we found out what that one something that they could do for the lining of the chest cavity, we
I
were
was like,
shocked and
"What?"
just basically upset.
Because their answer was that to do 3 light doses of chemotherapy. And the answer was because what happens is chemotherapy is so harsh on the body that it also creates scarring inside the, the lining, the organs, which is not a good thing. But if you have an opening in the chest cavity where you're drowning from the inside out, like I was, the scarring was needed and it would seal it off and I would no longer drown from the inside out. I mean, there was a way you could do surgery, but surgery wasn't a guarantee and would cause more problems because of the scarring.
What we learned from that was there's a place for chemotherapy. And that was a hard pill to swallow, but the reality is it's not to treat cancer. It's not to...
It's if you need scarring, that'll definitely do it.
If you wish to destroy the inside of your body just a bit per dose to where you can seal up a opening that's inside the chest cavity without having to cut them open, because the other option would be to cut her open, use a specific type of glue that would forever cause problems.
Like they were saying, to go in to seal it could cause some severe scarring, which can cause a lot of lung issues later.
Yeah.
And with the chemotherapy, it would just scar it just enough to what would seal and heal, and that's all you needed. So that one wouldn't cause the problems that the actual surgery would cause.
Right.
And so I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, because of our situation, we knew that we couldn't come back to the States and say, hey, now that we're done with the cancer and it's over, we just need you to do 3 doses of light dose chemo so I can seal that off.
We're going to tell you how this chemotherapy is going to play out there, oncologist.
Yeah. It was bad enough they didn't like that I wouldn't do chemotherapy to fight cancer. So what we did was we decided we would come back to the States and it would be our secret that we were only doing chemotherapy to seal the chest cavity, but not tell them that, because it's not like they're going to go recheck to see if I still have cancer.
This was mostly a financial decision because for them to do the 3 light doses of chemotherapy in Mexico, they needed an additional $10,000.
No, 30.
I'm sorry, $10,000 per.
Yeah, $10,000 per.
Which actually is a bargain.
Compared to
what it costs here in the United States. If you look at the raw data from anybody who received chemotherapy, it's something like $75,000 a dose,
and some even higher,
and some higher even still. So that was a bargain. That was them working with us. But
so then we had to come here, and once we got here, we had to just pretend like, sure, we're going to do chemotherapy on and on. Now I still don't remember much because the chest cavity started filling up again. I wasn't getting enough oxygen to the brain. So I don't remember signing anything. I don't remember honestly anything, but it was in that it was clear that we couldn't tell anybody.
Right.
We couldn't tell anybody the real reason we were doing chemotherapy.
So essentially we just had to come back to the United States because of the financial reason. But the other thing that was more of a powerful stance for us was that Lourdes did specify to me that she had kind of received this inspiration that it's really going to be difficult for her to tell somebody just how messed up chemotherapy is without her having to experience it herself.
Right.
And so that's always been Lourdes. She always finds like the positive reason why something has happened. And I think that's why she's the type of person that receives visitation from angels and she receives these messages from on high, is because she's always got this attitude of, well, what's the lesson to be learned here? And so we came back to the United States and financially we couldn't afford the $30,000, but insurance covered what they were going to do here.
Yeah.
And
of course, then we couldn't tell them that the cancer was gone.
Right.
Because they're not going to give you chemotherapy if you say, well, the cancer is gone, but I need to seal the chest cavity. So what we did do is we did ask the doctor first, because I have this opening in the chest cavity, would chemotherapy scar and seal that closed?
She said yes.
She said yes. I said, okay. I said, well, then let's do chemotherapy. That way it'll take care of the cancer and that too.
Now, there are many people in Lourdes's life that were not happy with her choices to go to Mexico to receive her healing. And so when they found out that we were going to be getting this chemotherapy, they all high-fived and were dancing and rejoicing that Lourdes has finally come around. And they never really understood the reason why Lourdes was going to get that chemotherapy.
So they really thought that the reason I was doing chemotherapy is because I still had cancer. And now I'm going to do the chemotherapy to get rid of the cancer. But in reality, I no longer had cancer. I just couldn't tell anybody or the doctor so that I could get this treatment so that the chest cavity could seal and I'd be fine. Now, it was supposed to be a light dose,
Yeah.
but you can't tell them here
Right.
that I need a light dose. So we just went along with whatever it was going to be to scar the chest cavity. And then, of course, that's what it was too strong and my body shut down.
Yeah. So when Lourdes went into a coma, it was because they had done the protocol that they feel is best for someone with lymphoma, which is actually Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is actually 3 different types of chemotherapy, all at once.
All at once.
Not 3 light doses of one specific one like they wanted to do in Mexico, but inundation.
Yep.
And it was after the chemotherapy was administered, Lourdes's body reacted the way it did. She shut down and she went into a coma.
Yes, which as you see here.
Yeah. I got to say, just rehashing the journey the way it was, it is a miracle. It was obviously divine hands that kind of interceded on our behalf and brought this full circle for us, because now we're, look at Lourdes, she's just alive and thriving and like this living example of possibility. And at some point in time, you just got to give credit where it's due, and that's to God.
And I got to tell you, for those who may not believe in God, and that's okay. That's your choice. We're not here to force anyone, but I can tell you through my experience, through what I saw when I was in a coma, what I saw when I was at my worst in Mexico, when I saw when I was at Optimal Health Institute, when I had those visits and I had those conversations, I personally can say that there is a God, that there are angels, that, that all of this spirituality does exist, and that there is a higher power of what God has created for all of us to understand. And we have to be the ones that are willing to say, let me see. And when we say, let me see, he'll let us see, because I know for myself, I just handed my life over and trusted that I was on a journey for a reason. And even looking at a lot of this footage, I look at the footage and see how bad I was. And I got to tell you, most of it I've forgotten. But when I see it and I see how my body, my temple suffered so much, that even through all that suffering, even through, and this, I literally felt death. And I can't explain how that feels. I can just tell you that you feel death, and I was feeling the death. And even when I felt death, I still knew I wasn't going to die, but it was the most, physically the most lowest point of my body that I think anyone could, experience. Looking and understanding what I felt is shocking. To see that I'm still alive and well, and I was told I wouldn't die, which was, I
was gonna say you had a direct message that said that you were gonna,
gonna
survive,
and that was like, wow. So just knowing that information lets me know that we are on the right track, we are doing the right thing. God has put us on the right mission and on the right road, and that's why we've been able to help so many people.
And we'll wrap up for this episode. Basically, that was what happened down in Mexico.
Yes.
We appreciate you hanging out with us this week. I know this is kind of a lot to unpack. It certainly was a lot for us to rehash for ourselves.
Yeah.
It was just part 2 of why we had to go to Mexico to receive the treatments that Lourdes received.
And we will be doing a 9-part series to the actual documentary.
Right.
There is a lot of the story that we can't share in 1 hour.
No. Yeah, it's just not possible. But we did want to clarify, because some people had said, why Mexico? And it's a valid question. Why Mexico?
Well, and some people would say, but didn't you do chemotherapy? And I think this just clears up the reason why that was in place, because it really wasn't. It's a thing that saved me from drowning from the inside out, true. But when I look at the whole picture and say, well, would have I been in that situation if I was giving the IV antibiotic that was needed to get rid of the pneumonia I had, that kept me coughing, that caused the opening? In other words, if they would have gave me what I needed, I wouldn't have kept coughing. I wouldn't have had an opening. I wouldn't have needed to have chemotherapy.
Yeah,
to
we
seal
really
it.
didn't even get into the whole idea that when Lourdes had pneumonia, at first they started her on the IV of antibiotics.
The first day.
The very first day, until they found out that she wasn't going to do chemotherapy or radiation. And I'm not
Really?
kidding, they turned it off and took it away.
Yep. And they were like, it's not pneumonia. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, suddenly it
But I
wasn't pneumonia.
feels like I have that and this was working. And they're like, no, they were wrong. And I'm like, wait. So the doctors that did the x-rays that looked at it and said I had pneumonia are now wrong. So now they disagreed and didn't give me the treatments anymore.
Right. So we didn't even get into that, but that's how things got so bad, is because there was an opportunity to have this corrected properly and to have that cough eliminated. But the second they found out that Lourdes wasn't playing ball with that other oncologist nonsense, they literally turned their backs on her.
Yep.
That
Instead,
actually
it's
happened.
just a cancer, and that was it.
Right. So that's just part of our journey. Maybe in the 9-part series, we'll definitely unpack that, because that was sort of before we even went to Mexico. All that went down, but
it's a lot more of a story.
It really is. It's kind of well, for us, it was our lives, for 2-3 years right there. So there's no way to cram it all into a documentary like we tried, or there's no way for us to do it in 1 hour. So that's what we're going to do, the 9-part series. We're working on that now. So look for that. If you go to the LourdesandChrisShow.com and subscribe to the newsletter, you'll see when that's coming out and get updates on that. You can also donate right there to help us continue this on and to get that 9-part series out there, because this is an important conversation that people need to start having. We need to start changing our conversation surrounding our health and who's responsible for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you can follow us on social media if you haven't already. We're on all the above.
Yep. Yes, and all of these. We're talking Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Hey.
It's all of it. So it's all right there for you. And if you haven't gone onto drnewsom.com and signed up for his newsletter, you really ought to, because honestly, it's just chock full of great information. Interesting
He's got a great
stuff.
book. In fact, we love his book.
Yes.
You guys definitely want to get his book. If you can immediately, you can go to drnewsom.com and get the Detox for Life.
Right.
Really, it's got the greatest information, great recipes. It's got so much information that you'd be crazy not to own a book like this.
We view Dr. Newsom as one of our strongest assets when it comes to conversations around health and staying healthy, and you should too.
Yes.
So again, thanks once more. A heartfelt thanks for Dr. Newsom and Sheena, his wife, for the continued support for the show, and so that we can get the message out about why Lourdes had to go to Mexico.
Yep.
Just as an example.
Just as one example.
Yeah, right. So
subscribe, share, like.
Yeah, it helps a lot. It really does. Yeah. And so we will see you again in a week, because that's the way this works. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Lourdes and Chris Show is going to be live. We're live when it's showing on Facebook. So if you were to jump onto Facebook while it's showing live, say hello. We absolutely love that. We get to talk while the show's going on. We eat popcorn, read your comments. It's fantastic.
Yeah. We'll see you guys there.
Yeah, we'll see you then. So have a good week. We love you, and have a blessed week.